One of the things that we tend to see a couple times of the year, we run into people wondering if specific appliances were operating during an event. One of the ways that we can analyze this is by looking at the gas usage and take the billing data from the utility provider, look at the weather data for that time period, and we can develop kind of a baseline gas usage prior to the subject period, and then we can predict what the expected gas usage during the period of interest would have been and compare that to what was recorded. And this way we can get a good idea of whether the furnace was running, and if it was, if the temperature setting was adequate. Where we had put these principles to use effectively was actually at a flash fire, where there was a townhome that had a small fire causing the townhouse to be vacant for several months. And during the restoration in this townhome after this fire, there were several workers in the basement removing some floor coverings and using a solvent to loosen the glue. Unfortunately, the solvent produced flammable vapors that were ignited, injuring these workers. And during the litigation, the first target was the water heater. That's where they thought these flammable vapors were ignited. The issue with that is that we don't believe the water heater was even running at the time of the incident, so it could not have ignited the vapors. And the way that we were able to determine this was by looking at that gas billing data from the utility provider, also getting weather data, including ground temperature data, and using that to estimate temperatures inside the townhome because it was not being heated during this unoccupied period. And we took this data and were able to determine the gas use attributed by the gas company during this unoccupied period was actually consumed during a brief occupied window prior to the first fire. In order to further reinforce this fact, we also did some exemplar testing with a water heater to determine what the actual demand of the pilot light and the water heater just cycling on and off to maintain the tank temperature when there's no demand for hot water would be, and show that with the estimate the gas company had in this period, it actually would have consumed far greater amount of gas just sitting there doing nothing in the basement. And so that these two things really serve to reinforce the fact that this water heater had been extinguished or turned off during that first fire event and was not the source of ignition for the flash fire. If you've got any questions about a case similar to this, or questions about HVAC, building heating and cooling, or plumbing issues specifically, please give ESI a call.